Good morning and hi YouTube. This is trying to conceive after a loss. I'm coming to you today because I have a update that I want to share with you ladies. Well, I went to my doctor yesterday to confirm the pregnancy. I did. They gave me a pregnancy test. It was positive. I got my pap smear done, which was kind of uncomfortable. I never really remember my pap smear being kind of painful. It's like when she was pressing on my uterus or something. It was kind of, I guess it's tender because it's all the blood flow there or whatever. But it wasn't nothing that I would like scream out in pain. It's just tender down there in my uterus. So I got my blood work done. She gave me normal blood work. She checked in my progesterone. You know what hormone I'm talking about. Sometimes I can pronounce it, sometimes I can't. She's checking my progesterone, if I said that right. She's doing another HCG level, and she's doing the regular prenatal blood workup. Now, she told me to stay on my metformin, which I was going to do anyway. But I told her she's also checking my A1C, which is going to be kind of high because I didn't know she was checking it. I didn't fast, so I ate like candy. I was eating candy and everything, so my A1C is going to be kind of unreliable because it's not a fasting one. But I had told her that my A1C had went up to 6.1 from 5.8. So she gave me a prescription because I told her I was already on prenatals. She gave me a prescription for a glucose monitor, some strips, and some lancets. And I have to check my sugar every morning. It's a fasting sugar in the morning. I have to check it after an hour after I eat breakfast, an hour after I eat lunch, an hour after I eat dinner, and I have to check it before I go to bed. And I have to keep these logs, my logs over there, I have to keep these logs every day until I go back to see her, excuse me, which is the 6th of January. Oh, excuse me, is when I see her again. So, the appointment went pretty good. She felt my uterus and she felt around and everything. So I came home from my appointment and from calculations it's been 5 weeks since I had my last menstrual cycle, so they calculate me as 5 weeks. So I came home, I was okay. I noticed I started to be in a lot of pain, and the pain ranged from my belly button down. So I was like, maybe it's because I had the pap smear and it kind of, when she was messing with my cervix, I noticed that your cervix is a lot more tender because it's more engorged with blood. It didn't feel right. It felt really weird, and she was all up in there. Excuse my language, well, not language, but TMI. And the pain started to get worse. And the pain was to the point where it felt like I had a pressure on something in my stomach, like a pressure on my uterus, a pressure on something. It felt like something was causing pressure in that area, and it was hurting real bad. So, first thing came to mind was maybe ectopic pregnancy. And I know that ectopic pregnancy can cause really bad abdominal pain. Also, you bleed. But I'm not bleeding, I'm not spotting, I'm not doing anything. So I was like, well, maybe that could be it, or maybe I'm miscarrying. I know I'm not supposed to think the worst, but I mean, with the amount of pain that I was in, it was unbearable. I'll tell you like this, the pain was so bad, I wanted to take a narcotic pain medication to relieve the pain. Because when I came home from my pap smear, I did take 2 extra strength Tylenol to try to calm the uncomfortableness that I was having at that time. So anyway, I get to the hospital, I get in the back. They were sending me for an ultrasound to make sure that the pregnancy is in the uterus. They took my blood to check my blood level to make sure it was going up or has went up since my last blood level check. My last blood level check with them was Monday, December the 16th, and it was 41. So I'm nervous, I'm scared. The lady came in, she was like, well, we're going to do a urine pregnancy test on you. She was like, well, why do you think you're pregnant? I said, I don't think, I know I'm pregnant. She's like, well, okay, are you expecting to be pregnant? I said, no, I know I'm pregnant. She's like, well, okay, well, let me dip it and, I'll come back. And I'll dip your urine and make sure you don't have an infection. I wasn't worried about it. I knew the test was going to come back positive. I got a test. This was my test at the doctor's office. Well, this was what it looked like, but, I just took this just a few minutes ago. So, I highly doubt, if my test look like this, I don't think it's going to be negative at the hospital. So, she came back, she was like, yeah, urine was positive for pregnancy. I was like, okay. So, I had to drink water, and as soon as she was done drawing my blood, she was like, you let me know when you're ready for your ultrasound. And I told her, I said, well, I'm ready, I have to use the bathroom now. So I went to the ultrasound. They did the one on top of the stomach. I seen nothing. It looked like my uterus was completely empty, and I was like, oh my gosh, maybe it's just, maybe it isn't my tubes. But I do know you can't see much with the trans-abdominal ultrasound. They have to go up inside. So it was time to meet to my bladder, and she went inside. As soon as she went outside, she was like, oh, there it goes, a little black speck. So there was a little black dot measuring 4 weeks and 6 days. She said, that's a gestational sac. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So then, I asked, I was like, can I get a picture of it? She was like, oh, we can't give out pictures. Some people are nice enough, even though they're not supposed to. Okay, well, don't tell nobody, I'll give you one. Even though it is a picture of just a gestational sac, it's something that I would want to have to see, to be like, oh, there was actually something in there. I seen a gestational sac only one other time, but my HCG was 9, so I knew it was a failing pregnancy. So anyway, she measured it. She says 4 weeks, 6 days. No, 4 weeks, 5 days, I'm sorry. And I was like, well, I'm supposed to be 5 weeks. I said, well, 2 days difference ain't bad. And she said, most people are plus minus 5 days anyway, and it shouldn't be no more than that. So 2 days is pretty fine. So I was like, okay. So, I had her re-show me the little black dot again. And I said, are you sure that's a gestational sac? She said, that's the only thing it could be. And I said, okay, thank you. She was very nice to a certain extent. I mean, she was very nice. So I went back to my room, and now I'm waiting on the doctor to come in to find out what my HCG levels are. So I just found out that I'm 4 weeks and 5 days instead of 5 weeks. And finally, the doctor come in about an hour, 45 minutes later. And he was like, everything looks normal. My blood work came back normal. My white blood cell count is 9, and it's on the higher end of normal, which means I have something going on, which is fighting. He says I have, which I have acute or chronic. It's called gastritis or something like that. Basically inflammation of the stomach, and it's something that I always, he said, yeah, gastritis, inflammation of the stomach lining, of the stomach, which is why I've been, going through so much antacids. Also, when they did my urine, it came back, the lady said it came back as a microscopic presence of blood. She said it was so small and so tiny, it's nothing to be concerned about, but they had to send it off to the lab. And I was like, well, what does that mean? She was like, well, basically, it's very small and microscopic that there's blood in your urine. And she was like, I wouldn't worry about it because at this stage it's normal. I said, well, here's the point. I said, I'm not bleeding, I'm not spotting, I'm not doing anything. I said, I did have a pap smear today, which could have caused some irritation to it, to my cervix. She's like, yeah, that's probably it. But again, I'm not spotting, not bleeding, not claiming it, but I'm not doing it anyway. So my problem is I have inflammation of my stomach lining, which is going to take a while to go away. All I can do is just treat the symptoms, and it's pretty painful, ladies. My stomach is pretty swollen. He gave me Pepsid, milk of magnesia to take. So I got a prescription for Pepsid. I can only take Pepsid, milk of magnesia, Zantac, and Tums. That is my regimen for, I'm sorry, I just got a wave of nausea. For gastritis. And he said it's going to take a while. I just have to have a bland diet, drink water, and just keep up with the antacids, and it will keep it will keep the inflammation down, but it will also help cure it because it don't technically need antibiotics. So then he was talking to me, and then I was like, so he said you're still early, the hormone is low, and I was like, oh, I was just devastated. I was like, oh gosh, no. So I asked him, I said, so what was my level? And for the life of me, I feel really sick right now, ladies. And for the life of me, I could have sworn he said 140. Now, as we know, my last HCG was 41. What I thought was 4 weeks even. I was actually 3 weeks and 5 days with a 41 HCG level, which means when I found out I was pregnant, I was actually 3 weeks and 2 days, very early. So I did the beta calculator. It said the doubling time was 100 and some odd hours. No, 97 hours. Excuse me. So I was like, it's the end. I already know what it's going to be. So they call it a threatened miscarriage. But the reason why they call it threatened miscarriage is because the ultrasound findings said that there is a gestational sac inside my uterine cavity, but they couldn't really see the amniotic sac, and they couldn't really see the placenta. It's something that it wasn't clearly seen. Doesn't mean it's not there. And they need to have a fetal pole and a heart beat to successfully say it is not a ectopic pregnancy, even though the gestational sac is inside the uterus. So, as of right now, my ultrasound date from my doctor that is scheduled for the 31st, I will be exactly 6 weeks when I go. I think I will be. I have to check that out, since my days is pushed back by 2 days. And also, I do know that everything could catch up with each other once everything starts progressing. So, because of the microscopic blood they found in my urine, which was very, very little, because I'm not bleeding or spotting now, period, at all, and the fact that it was just the sac and nothing else inside the sac as of right now, but it's normal for 4 weeks and 5 days, they consider it a threatened miscarriage. And when I thought he said my levels were 140, because he kept saying they were low for 5 weeks or whatever. So as I'm discharged, I just so happened they gave me a report of all my blood work they took. So I just so happened to look at my paper to check my A1C level, to check my HCG level, and my HCG came back at 914. So my HCG went from 44 at 3 weeks 2 days to 914. No, I'm sorry. At 3 weeks 5 days, it was 41. And a week later, which was 4 weeks and 5 days, it's 914. I am ecstatic at that number because I never ever had a number that high. The highest number I've heard that I've had was maybe 300, and that was like 5 weeks pregnant somewhere. Excuse me. So I found out I was pregnant pretty early, and when they told me that my positive was a week positive for 4 weeks, it turns out I wasn't even 4 weeks. I was just 3 weeks and some days. So now here's where my concern comes in. Well, this could be a good number or a bad number. My OBGYN, she took the same test, my HCG, progesterone, and everything. Now, my results from her should be back today. I want to call her and get my results from my beta and my progesterone to see what my beta was. Now, if my beta with her was lower, like 800 and something, or it could have even been 900 or something, I don't know. As long as it's under 914, then I guess it's a good thing. But if her beta was higher and then the hospital's beta was lower, then that means the HCG is dropping. So I guess I'll come back and update you ladies on that when I'm able to get those numbers in. But for right now, I'm just really surprised that my numbers are what they are, because I never ever seen numbers this high in the 1,000 range. I've never made it to the 1,000 range before, to be honest, and to be so close, it's just amazing. It's to me, it makes me feel like everything is meant to be. That this is going to be my take-home baby. I'm claiming it. I believe it. I have faith in it. So, I feel so nauseous. Today I am officially 4 weeks and 6 days. Everything's just pushed back 2 days. So all my vlogs are just 2 days behind each. It's 2 days behind. And I'll correct those dates on there too. But I'm gonna still keep up my 5-week vlog, because technically I'll be 5 weeks tomorrow. So it's gonna stay the same. Whew. Ladies, I think morning sickness is trying to kick in. Either it's my stomach. So, anyway, again, I'm surprised. I really am. I've been keeping this with me the whole time, just to see that number. It's upside down, but you get the drift. This is 914. Okay, I'm gonna stop going. I know you're probably like, this woman here, but you have to understand, I've never, ever, out of all my pregnancies, ever had a number above 300. Never. It's just amazing to see that in the 1 week's time. Oh, I did my doubling calculator on the time, and for 44 on the 16th to 9:14 on the 23rd, my doubling time is every 37 hours, which equals out to about 1.6 days. My HCG doubles every 1.6 days, which is pretty good. And the normal doubling range is supposed to be 48 to 72 hours, and I'm at 37. Or I see one website that said 32 to 72. So either way it goes, I'm in a normal range for my HCG and everything. So I'm ecstatic. But alright, ladies, I will come back and add a clip, or I will come back and add a small clip to this video. I'll record it on my phone to let you know what the doctor say, what my blood work was done with, what my blood work came back from her, and hopefully it's in the right range of the same as the hospital, so therefore everything is still fine. And I just have to wait till the 31st on pins and needles, but I'm gonna have to wait till my first ultrasound. But so far I've seen the black speck, which is the gestational sac, which is probably soon to be the baby. So I'm happy. Well, alright ladies, thank you for listening, and that's my hospital OBGYN update. I'll talk to you later. Bye.